Last set of notes. Right, then it's just next class meet assignment, then we'll probably start a review on Friday, the test probably the week after that. That's sort of how I'm envisioning the next couple of days rolling out. So, today, we're putting lessons 3, 4 together. Multiplying, adding, and subtracting. Those are all dividing, all called operations. You just gotta do all those kind of operations all at once. Right? And the order that we do in is used by this mnemonic here called BEDMAS. I'm not gonna get you guys to say it out. B stands for brackets, right? That's the first thing we look for. Then we try to do any kind of exponents if there are. Then the next two steps are actually tied steps. So you have division and multiplication. And we have finally last two steps, which are tied again, addition and subtraction. Subtraction. All right. So if something is tied, for example, multiplying and division, how do we pick which one goes first? Yeah, you just go left to right. If something's tied, you go left to right. Right? Now, what's going to happen now is we're going to have lots of extra brackets. And I'm going to say work from the innermost set of brackets out. Now, not all brackets are used to separate operations, right? Some brackets are only there to highlight that the fact that a number is negative, right? That's the sole purpose of those brackets. And typically those are the round brackets here. Right here, look at this. We have round brackets here. But this is just one single number. This is a fraction, right? The brackets are there to highlight the fact this is a negative number. Right? There's brackets here just to highlight that this is a fraction. There's brackets are here only for highlighting that it is a negative number, right? So the only fractions in terms of operations we're concerned with is the large square ones in this particular question. Okay? So we're going to kind of jump around here. All right? And what math operations do we see inside of here? Right, you got to figure out the operations before you can calculate them. What operations do you see? Minus and subtraction and what else? And division. Okay. Now, you've been doing BEDMAS for a while and you get really good at it. And yes, you can do sometimes multiple calculations all at once. I would say resist that for the first little bit when you're doing fractions. Right? Because when you're doing fractions, each step sometimes has multiple steps inside of it. Like in grade 7, if you had like negative 17 minus 27 divided by a number, you can do a lot of those things at once. Now, when you're dividing fraction, you got to do some flipping. You're simplifying. So I'm going to say just focus on one operation at a time. Now, the goal for this, because it can get overwhelming, is take all the numbers you see here, boil it down to a single fraction. Right? That's the overall goal. Take all these, get them to a single fraction. So when you pick a fraction operation to work with, just do one operation at a time. The goal is to combine those two numbers to a single number. Right? So here, our first operation is going to be our division one. Right? And we're going to take the number from the left of the operation, the number on the right, combine these two numbers to make a single fraction, right? So if we're dividing, what is the first step that we do when we're dividing? Switch. So keep flip. So the 27 over 5 stays the same. So notice, I am not going to write everything down. I'm only writing down what I'm working with. It'll lead to less errors and easier to follow, right? I'm working with this operation, so that's the only thing I'm writing down. Right? So the division changes to a multiplication, and when we look at multiplying, we go, hey, is there any way of simplifying the tops and the bottoms in this question? Is there anything we can do? So the 27 and the 3, yes. So they can be both divided by 3. So 27 divided by 3 is 9, and that's 1. Is there anything else?
No.
No. Okay. Now we multiply these together. Are we going to have a negative number or a positive number as our final answer?
Negative.
Negative, right? So we have a negative here. There you go. 9 times 2, which is 18. And 5 times 1, which is 5. So we have negative 18 over 5. So we're working vertically. We can see exactly what we're doing. We took in these two fractions. We got it down to a single fraction. Now we move on to the next operation. We said, hey, we're working inside of these orange brackets. The next one we have to do this minus 1. And we're not going to write everything down. All I'm going to do is draw an arrow. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to bring this all the way down to here. And so I have negative 17 over 5 minus, right? So I'm just going to show it, right? Okay, now I have lots of negative signs there. Are there any negative signs that can be combined to a single, or canceled, or into a plus sign? Is there anything?
Yeah.
Which one, Savannah? Yeah, and that these two combine to make a plus, right? All right. So now, since we are now adding, we need a common denominator. So this is a little bit easier question because the denominators are already common, right? So we don't have to do that extra step. So we go, our denominator stays the same, right? And we have negative 17 plus 18. What do we write on the top? What number do we get for our numerator? 1. Thank you, Ali. Okay, so now all of this was sitting inside of those orange brackets. So all of this boils down to this, right? And look how easy that is to follow. It's not as easy as the grade 7 stuffs to follow, but if you're not writing everything over and over again, it doesn't get messy, less chances to make a mistake. So you just write down the operation you're working with and draw arrows to bring down the numbers you'll be using later on. Yes?
What happens to the one to the very right?
We haven't used this one, so this one still needs to come down. So we focused with the inside of the brackets, right? And we wanted to get that down to a single number before we go to the outside of the brackets. So now we bring down the outside of the brackets like this. Okay? Now, we combine those together. The operation between these are multiplying. Right? When we're multiplying, we look to simplify first. Is there any simplifying we can do here? No. So just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms together. So this equals 1 over 10. That's it. Right? So, at the beginning stages, I know sometimes you can do multiple calculations at once. I say, hey, resist that, and just do one calculation at a time. Less likely to make an error. All right. Okay, let's go over here. Okay. Now, once again, lots of extra negative signs. Are there any negative signs that we can clean up? Or can we just cancel home to them? Is there anything that can cancel?
1, 6.
The 1 and 6 can. So remember that when we're adding and subtracting, add, subtract, we can't take this negative from over here and cancel it over there. Right? That rule only works for multiplying. For adding, subtracting, negatives on the same fraction can cancel each other out. Right? So we have two operations. Right? And I'm going to move this negative sign from here up with the 5. So it's a little bit nicer. Right? Less likely to make a mistake. Technically, since adding and subtracting are tied, you can do that all at one step. But we will do it one step at a time. So we're going to work out one operation, this plus sign. We're going to take the numbers from both sides of the plus sign, combine it to make a single fraction. So for adding, we need a common denominator first. So we have 8 and 6. What's our common denominator? What can 8 and 6 both fit into? 24. So times it by 3 here, top and bottom. So that ends up being negative 15 over 24. Then I multiply this one by 4, top and bottom. We have 4 over 24, and we have the plus sign in between these two numbers. Okay. So now can I take that 4 and the 24 across from it and make it smaller? Right? Can I? Oh, these are both going to be divided by 2. Can I do that? Should I do that? Fine. No. That's only for multiplying, right? Adding, subtracting, make the common denominators, and then add, then subtract whatever the numbers were. So we have 24 as our denominator. What's negative 15 plus 4? What number did we get there?
19.
Sorry?
Negative 19.
Not negative 19. You're at negative 15. You want to go plus 4, right 4. Negative 11. Thank you, Savannah. Negative 11. Okay? So, we made this operation down to a single number. Took the two ones from each side, combined it, and made this. Now we bring down the rest of this. All right? And we go minus 10 over 4. Okay? We have the subtraction. We need to find a common denominator. Numbers are getting bigger, but you guys can have a list. What's the common denominator between 24 and 4? 24. Excellent. So the first number doesn't need to change. Second one, we multiply by times 6. I know a lot of you guys like to do times 1s. If you want, you can put those times 1s in there for this one. It's not necessary. So we have negative 11 over 24 minus 60 over 24. Okay? So we combine these together, we get 24. You have negative 11 minus 60 on the top. What number did we get? Right?
Negative 49.
Not negative 49. We're at negative 11. You want to go left 60 more.
Oh, it's negative.
Negative what?
71.
Negative 71. Thank you, Maddie. Negative 71 equals. That's it. So, with these questions, try to work vertically. I know I don't always necessarily give you enough space on sometimes on the assignments because I try to fit it on all pages. But if you work vertically, your work is right below the calculation you're doing, so it's easy to follow, right? And you're going to keep on working until you get this down to a single number, then you're going to bring down another math operation, combine those two numbers until you get it down to a single number, and you just keep on going that down until you have a one final single number and you used everything up, right? Okay, let's go on to the back page. All right, which one should we go first? Let's do the left one. Let's just go left to right. 2 questions left, and we'll break after that. All right. So once again, on this question, right, those round brackets do not separate out operations. They're only there to highlight the fact that some of these numbers are negative, right? And I'm going to strongly encourage you, if you see a negative out front, just scratch it out and put it up with the top number. You're less likely to make a mistake there. Okay? So the first thing we want to do is look for the brackets that have operations inside of it. So once again, are the square brackets. And we have this plus sign in between it. Right? So our goal is to combine the number to the left and to the right of that plus sign to a single fraction. Right? So you have a plus, we have 5 and 4, so we need a common denominator. What's a common denominator? 20. And can I cancel those 2 negative signs out that we have in there? No, that's only for multiplying. So we want a common denominator of 20. So I'm going to do my little times 4 here, top and bottom to do that to the 20. And I'm going to do times 5 on top and bottom. And I'll write out my new fractions. So I have negative 8 over 20. I have negative 5 over 20. And I have a plus sign in between these. Okay. we're not done until that is down to a single number, single fraction. Right, so we have negative 8 over 20 plus negative 5 over 20. Denominator stays the same. What do we write up top? Right? If it helps, you can go like this, get rid of this, and plus and minus makes a minus. So you have negative 8 minus 5. Or you can think of negative 8 plus negative 5. Either way, it means the same thing. 13. 13? Positive or negative? It is not positive. Negative. So, negative 13. Okay? Okay. So we finally got those square brackets down to a single number. If you want, you can keep those there. Right? Now we bring down our next operation, which is this division sign. We bring this one down. So you go, okay, negative 3 over 7 divided by this. Okay. So we're working vertically. You can see where all the numbers are coming from. And we're working with division. What do we do first? Do we try to make it smaller? What's our first step? Switch. Keep, flip, flip. The division sign changes to a multiplication sign. Right? So this switches over. The negative 3 over 7 stays the same. The division changes to multiplication, and we flip that second fraction. Right? So it becomes 20 over 13. Put the negative sign on top. Right? So if we're multiplying, we can cancel signs out if we want. Is our final answer to be positive or negative? Positive, the two negative signs cancel each other out. All right, then we got to look to simplify. Look, compare tops and bottoms in all directions. Is there any simplifying we can take place? No, thank you. So 3 times 20. So 3 times 2 is 6. We have 60. 7 times 13. 91. Thank you. 91. Oh. 91. There we go. That is it. Sorry, you got the wrong number. I don't know why I picked up. Huh? Oh, I wonder if it's a delivery. Ah.
You could have said yes.
Oh, well. Okay. I think it is a delivery. Just check my camera. All right. Last question. Okay. Lots of brackets. Right? Which brackets are the only ones that have operations inside of it? Other ones are just for negatives. Right? Just the square ones is last time, right? That's gonna be pretty standard, right? Okay. So now, I have 3 fractions. Each fraction is going to be separated by an operation. I see the division symbol between the first 2 fractions. What's the operation between the second and the third fraction? Right? So I see a division here. What's here? Multiply. Right? You got to be able to identify all the operations if you want to be able to separate them. Right? So multiply. Right? All right. So now we're going to choose between these and go, okay, what's the first operation we do? Division and multiplication are both sets of brackets. Which one do we do first? Right? Which one do we do first? Makes a difference. Division, right? They're tied, so we go left to right. So we go, this one is the first one we're going to do. So first fraction stays the same. Right? Change that to a multiplication. and we flip it. And just keep the negative sign up on top. All right? All right. Okay. So now, we can look to simplify, or if you notice, the one after this is multiply. You could bring down the other one if you want at this stage. It's up to you, right? You can try simplifying these, or you can bring this one down as well. Because everything is multiplying. It's all exactly the same, right? You can do it both ways. You can do it in 2 steps or in 1 step. Okay, let's try it with this one. It's the last one of the day. All right. Okay. So all these are going to combine down to a single fraction. Is that fraction going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
It is going to be positive. Thank you, Ellie. We have 4 negative signs. These 2 will cancel each other out. These 2 will cancel each other out. So our final answer is going to be positive. All right. Now that we're looking at multiplying and dividing, we look to simplify first. Is there any pairs of numbers that you can make smaller? Savannah? 3 and 9. I don't have a 9. Oh, I do have a 9. Oh, yeah, 3 and 9 right there. Yes. So divide by 3, 1, and 3. Anything else? 32 and 2, yeah, they're both even numbers. Divided by 2. So half of 32 is 16. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Anything else? 4 and 16, yep. They can be divided by the number 4. So 4 and 16. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Is there anything else?
3 and 6.
3 and 6. Right? Both can be divided by 3. So divide by 3, 1, and 2. Okay. So I think that's the smallest we can get since we have all 1s on the bottom. So we multiply everything together on the bottom. We're left with a 1 times 1 times 1, which is a 1. And on the top, we have 1 times 4 times 2, which is 8. And all of this is that orange brackets boil down to a single fraction. Right? So one step at a time, get it down to a single fraction. Now we look outside. Right? And we look outside and we need to pick the next operation to do. What's the next operation we do? We have this one here, right? So we have a subtraction in between these 2 numbers, and what's between this 1/2 and the square brackets? Multiplication. Which one do we do first? Multiply. And this is where you guys made the mistake on your Unit 1 test. And I said, hey, you're going to make a mistake on this kind of question in Unit 1 test. You're going to make the same mistake on the Unit 2 test. Because lots of people will pick this subtraction to do first. Multiplying comes before subtraction. Right, so we're going to bring down this number. That's 1/2. And there's a times symbol in between these 2. Okay. Clean it up. Is there anything we can clean up? The 2 and the 8 can be divided by 2. Cancel, cancel. So that's 4. Oh, and then we multiply the tops together. 1 times 4 is 4 over 1. Okay. So now we've got that down to a single number. We can bring down our last operation. We have a minus sign, and a 2, and a 3. And I'm going to move that negative to the top. All right. subtracting, we need to find a common denominator. What's a common denominator? 3. So the first fraction doesn't need to change. Right? So notice, like, I could have written the answer as just 8 here and just 4 there. I kept them as 4 over 1 and 8 over 1 because we're working with fractions. I knew we were going to need the denominator at some point or later, so I just kept that 1 there. So I'm going to times this by 3. We got a 12 over 3 here, and we have a minus sign and a negative 2/3. Okay? And now that they're the same, we can add them together. Negative 2 minus 12 is negative 14. And we are done. Right?